You might be doing everything right, taking your vitamins, following your doctor's advice, trying to stay healthy after 60. And yet, there's one small habit that could quietly be putting your health at risk without you even realizing it. And it starts with something as simple as vitamin B12. Now, B12 is often praised as a must have supplement, especially for people over 60. It helps with energy, memory, nerve function, even mood. So naturally, many seniors start taking it daily, sometimes without even thinking twice. But here's what most people don't know, and what many doctors don't always explain clearly. B12 doesn't always work alone in your body. In fact, when combined with certain medications, it can behave very differently and not in a good way. Cardiologists are now raising concerns about a hidden interaction that's becoming more common, especially among older adults. Two of the most widely used medications, ones that millions of people over 60 take every single day, can interfere with how B12 is absorbed, processed, and even how it affects your heart and nerves. And the scary part, most people taking these combinations feel completely normal until subtle symptoms begin to show up. We're talking about things like unexplained fatigue that doesn't go away, tingling in your hands or feet, sudden changes in memory, or even irregular heart rhythms that seem to come out of nowhere. These are not just signs of aging. In some cases, they could be warning signals that your body is reacting to a combination it doesn't tolerate well. What makes this even more concerning is how easily it happens. You might be taking a prescription medication in the morning, a B12 supplement later in the day, thinking you're supporting your health, when in reality, the timing and combination could be working against you. In this video, I'm going to walk you through exactly which two common medications you need to watch out for, why this interaction happens inside your body, and most importantly, what simple changes you can make today to stay safe without giving up the benefits of B12. Because once you understand what's really going on, you'll never look at your daily routine the same way again. After the age of 60, health decisions start to feel more intentional. You pay closer attention to what you eat, what you take, and how your body responds. Vitamins like B12 become part of that awareness because they're often linked to energy, memory, and nerve support. It's something people begin taking with the mindset that it will help them stay sharp and active, especially when fatigue or forgetfulness starts to appear. Over time, it becomes a fixed part of the day, taken alongside other medications without much thought about how everything works together inside the body. What's not always understood is that your body at this stage is more sensitive to combinations than it was before. Systems that once handled nutrients and medications effortlessly now require a more balanced environment. B12 in particular is not absorbed in a simple way. It relies on a multi-step process that begins in the stomach and continues into the intestines, involving specific proteins and conditions that must align for proper absorption. When everything is working smoothly, this process happens quietly in the background. But when something interferes, even slightly, the results can build over time. This is where commonly used medications begin to have an effect that often goes unnoticed. Many people over 60 take drugs that reduce stomach acid or alter digestion in order to manage ongoing health conditions. While these medications serve an important purpose, they also change the internal environment that B12 depends on. Reduced stomach acid can make it harder for the vitamin to be released and prepared for absorption, while changes in the intestines can limit how much actually enters the bloodstream. These effects don't usually cause immediate problems, which is why they are easy to overlook. Instead, the body gradually begins to receive less support than expected. Even though you are taking B12 consistently, the amount that is actually being used may be lower than what your body needs. At first, there may be no clear signs, everything feels normal, and your routine continues as usual. But over time, subtle changes begin to appear. You may notice that your energy doesn't last as long throughout the day, or that simple tasks feel slightly more tiring than they used to. Your focus might drift more easily, or you may find yourself pausing to recall things that once came quickly. Some people experience physical sensations that are harder to explain, like a mild tingling in the hands or feet, or a sense that their balance is not as steady as before. These signs are often dismissed because they don't seem severe, and they develop so gradually that they blend into everyday life. It becomes easy to assume that this is just part of getting older, rather than something that can be addressed or improved. Another layer to this issue is the way daily habits are formed. Taking all medications and supplements at the same time is common because it simplifies the routine. However, this convenience can increase the chance of interactions that reduce effectiveness. Certain medications may compete with B12 during absorption or alter the conditions needed for it to work properly. This means that even with consistent use, your body may not be receiving the full benefit, creating a gap between what you take and what your body is actually able to use. Now, let's talk about the first medication group that quietly interferes with vitamin B12 in a way most people never expect, and that's acid reducing medications. These are some of the most commonly used drugs after 60, often taken daily for heartburn, acid reflux, or stomach protection. They include medications that lower or block stomach acid, and while they are effective at relieving discomfort, they also change one of the most important conditions your body needs to properly process B12. Stomach acid plays a critical role in breaking down food and releasing nutrients so they can be absorbed. With B12, this step is essential. The vitamin is tightly bound in food and even in some supplements, and it needs sufficient acid to be separated and prepared for the next stage of absorption. When acid levels are reduced, this process becomes incomplete. The B12 may pass through your digestive system without being fully activated, meaning your body never gets the full benefit of what you've taken. This doesn't usually cause immediate symptoms, which is why it often goes unnoticed. You might feel fine for months or even years while taking both B12 and acid reducing medication together. But underneath the surface, your levels may be slowly declining. The body stores some B12, so it can take time before a deficiency becomes noticeable. By the time symptoms begin to appear, the imbalance has often been building for a long period. The early signs can be subtle and easy to dismiss. You may feel more tired than usual, even after resting. There might be moments of mental fog or slight confusion that seem out of place. Some people notice tingling or numbness in their hands and feet, while others experience a gradual drop in balance or coordination. These symptoms don't always point directly to B12, which is why they are often attributed to aging or other conditions. What makes this situation more complicated is that many people increase their B12 intake when they start feeling these symptoms, assuming that more will solve the problem. But if the underlying issue is poor absorption due to reduced stomach acid, taking more may not fully correct the deficiency. The body still struggles to process the vitamin effectively, and the gap between intake and absorption continues. Another important factor is long-term use. These medications are often taken for extended periods, sometimes years, without reevaluating their impact on nutrient absorption. Over time, the consistent reduction in stomach acid creates an environment where B12 deficiency becomes more likely, especially if no adjustments are made to how or when supplements are taken. This is why understanding the interaction matters so much. It's not about avoiding necessary medications, but about recognizing how they influence your body's ability to use nutrients like B12. Once you see how this connection works, it becomes clear that simply taking a supplement is not always enough, and that the way your body processes it can change significantly depending on the medications you rely on every day. The second medication group that deserves attention is commonly used for managing type 2 diabetes. And for many people over 60, it becomes a long-term part of daily life. These medications are effective at controlling blood sugar and reducing complications, which makes them essential for maintaining stability. But what often goes unnoticed is how they interact with vitamin B12 over time, especially when both are taken consistently without monitoring how the body is responding. Unlike acid-reducing medications that affect the stomach, these drugs influence what happens further along in the digestive system, particularly in the small intestine where nutrients are absorbed into the bloodstream. Vitamin B12 relies on a specific mechanism at this stage where it binds to a transport protein and is then absorbed through the intestinal lining. Certain diabetes medications can interfere with this process, making it harder for B12 to pass through and enter circulation effectively. This interference doesn't happen all at once, it develops gradually, often over months or even years of regular use. Because the body stores B12, there is usually no immediate sign that anything is wrong. You may continue taking your supplement, feeling confident that your levels are being maintained, while in reality, the amount your body is absorbing is slowly decreasing. This creates a slow depletion that can remain hidden for a long time. As levels begin to drop, the effects start to show in subtle ways. One of the first things people notice is a change in energy. Tasks that once felt easy may begin to feel more tiring, and there may be a sense of fatigue that doesn't improve with rest. This is because B12 plays a key role in red blood cell production, and when levels are low, the body's ability to carry oxygen efficiently can be affected. At the same time, the nervous system begins to feel the impact. B12 is essential for maintaining the protective covering around nerves, and without enough of it, nerve signals can become less efficient. This can lead to sensations like tingling, numbness, or a slight burning feeling in the hands and feet. Some people also experience a sense of imbalance or unsteadiness, which can increase the risk of falls if it progresses. What makes this situation particularly challenging is that these symptoms often overlap with common complications of diabetes itself. Nerve-related symptoms are frequently associated with diabetic neuropathy, so the possibility of a B12 deficiency may not be considered right away. This can delay proper recognition and allow the issue to continue developing in the background. Another layer to this interaction is duration. The longer these medications are used, the greater the likelihood that B12 absorption will be affected. Many people take them for years without any routine check of their B12 levels, assuming that their supplement intake is enough to compensate. But without proper absorption, even consistent supplementation may not prevent a deficiency from forming. This creates a situation where two important parts of a health routine, managing blood sugar and supporting the body with B12, are unintentionally working against each other, reducing the effectiveness of one while relying heavily on the other, leading to a gradual imbalance that can affect both energy and nerve health without immediately drawing attention to the underlying cause. What makes this interaction even more concerning is that most people never realize it's happening because of how easily it blends into everyday routines. There's no warning label that clearly explains how your supplement and your medications might be working against each other. Instead, everything is taken together out of habit, often at the same time each day, creating a pattern that feels organized and responsible, but may quietly reduce how effective each part of that routine actually is. Timing plays a much bigger role than most people think. When multiple pills are taken together, especially in the morning or before bed, they don't just sit separately in your system. They enter the same digestive environment at the same time, which means they can influence each other's absorption. Some medications can change the acidity of the stomach right when B12 is being processed, while others may compete for transport pathways in the intestines. This overlap can reduce how much B12 actually reaches your bloodstream, even if the dose you're taking is considered sufficient. Another factor is the form of B12 being used. Not all supplements are absorbed in the same way, and when medications are already interfering with digestion or absorption, the form you choose can make a difference. However, most people are not given guidance on this, so they continue using whatever is easily available, assuming all B12 works the same. When combined with medications that already limit absorption, this can further reduce effectiveness without any obvious sign that something needs to change. Consistency, while generally a good habit, can also contribute to the issue when it prevents reevaluation. Many people follow the same routine for years without adjusting timing, dosage, or combinations, especially if they don't feel immediate side effects. The absence of sudden symptoms creates a sense of reassurance, even though the body may be gradually adapting in ways that reduce nutrient levels over time. This slow progression is what makes the interaction difficult to detect and easy to ignore. There's also the assumption that more is better. When subtle symptoms like fatigue or tingling appear, some people respond by increasing their B12 intake, believing that a higher dose will correct the issue. But if the underlying problem is related to absorption rather than intake, this approach may not fully solve it. The body still faces the same barriers, and the additional amount may not translate into increased benefit. What's happening beneath the surface is a kind of quiet competition between substances that were never intended to be taken together without consideration. Each one serves a purpose, but when combined without proper timing or awareness, they can limit each other's effectiveness. This creates a gap between what you believe you are giving your body and what your body is actually able to use, allowing the imbalance to continue without drawing clear attention to itself until the effects become more noticeable over time. The most important thing to understand is that this situation is not about avoiding vitamin B12 or stopping medications that your body may genuinely need. It's about becoming aware of how to use them in a way that actually supports your health instead of unintentionally reducing their effectiveness. Small adjustments in how you take your supplements and medications can make a significant difference in how your body responds, especially after the age of 60 when balance becomes more important than ever. One of the first steps is paying paying attention to timing. Instead of taking everything together out of convenience, separating B12 from certain medications can help reduce interference during absorption. Giving your body a window of time between different substances allows each one to be processed more effectively. Even a gap of a few hours can change how much of the vitamin your body is able to use, helping to close the gap between intake and actual benefit. Another important step is monitoring how your body feels over time rather than assuming everything is working as expected. Subtle changes in energy, focus, or physical sensations are often early signals that something needs adjustment. These signs are not always dramatic, but they are meaningful. Recognizing them early allows you to take action before the imbalance grows into something more difficult to manage. Regular checkups and simple blood tests can also play a key role in staying on track. Many people assume that taking a supplement automatically means their levels are where they should be, but without testing, it's difficult to know for sure. Checking B12 levels periodically provides a clearer picture of how your body is responding, especially if you are on long-term medications that may affect absorption. This kind of awareness turns guesswork into informed decisions. It's also helpful to look at the form and method of supplementation. Some forms of B12 are designed to be absorbed more easily, and in certain cases, alternative methods may bypass some of the challenges created by medications. This doesn't mean making changes on your own, but rather having a conversation with a healthcare provider about what option fits your situation best. Personalization becomes more important as your body's needs evolve. Another key point is avoiding the mindset that more is always better. Increasing the dose without addressing absorption issues may not provide the results you expect. The goal is not just to take more, but to make sure your body can actually use what you are taking. Focusing on effectiveness rather than quantity helps prevent unnecessary adjustments that don't solve the root problem. When these small but important changes are made, the entire routine begins to work more smoothly. Medications continue to support the conditions they are prescribed for, while B12 is given the opportunity to do its job properly. This creates a more balanced approach where each part of your routine supports the other instead of competing, allowing your body to maintain energy, protect nerve health, and function more steadily without the hidden interference that often goes unnoticed. So, if there's one thing to take away from all of this, it's this. Your daily routine may look perfectly healthy on the surface, but small hidden interactions can quietly change how your body responds over time. And after 60, those small changes matter more than ever. Vitamin B12 is not the enemy, and neither are the medications you rely on. The real issue is how they are used together without awareness. Once you understand that timing, absorption, and interaction all play a role, you move from guessing to actually protecting your health in a smarter way. If you're taking B12 along with any long-term medications, don't panic, but don't ignore it either. Start by being more intentional. Pay attention to how you feel. Space out your supplements, and if needed, have a simple conversation with your doctor about whether your current routine is truly working for your body. Because the goal here isn't to scare you, it's to give you control. Your energy, your clarity, your balance, these are not things you should lose without a reason. And sometimes the reason is not age, it's just something small that needs to be adjusted. Take that step today, stay aware, and make sure that everything you're taking is actually helping you the way it's supposed to.